Once upon a time, a pharaoh of ancient Egypt had everything a pharaoh could desire. Everything, except for one thing, a child. He prayed to the gods with all his heart for a baby to be born to his wife. Eventually, the gods of Egypt agreed among themselves to grant his wish. The queen fell pregnant, the months passed by, and one happy day she gave birth to a son. The parents' hearts filled with joy. That night, the 7 stars of the goddess Hathor twinkled brightly in the sky. In the morning, they came down to earth in the form of 7 sacred cows. Each of them had a name: the Lady of the Universe, the Sky Storm, the Hidden One, the Cow from Chemists, the Red Hare, the Bright Red, and the Cow from the East. When the 7 sacred cows of Hathor appeared in front of the palace, the pharaoh and the queen brought the newborn baby out to show them. The cows lowed in admiration and announced the child's destiny. His fate shall come to him in the form of a dog, a snake, or a crocodile. His parents were horrified. One of those animals could kill their beautiful baby boy? How could this be so? The pharaoh placed his hand over his heart and pleaded with the sacred cattle. "Oh, cows of Hathor, we have waited so many years for this baby son. Can't you please pronounce a happier fate for him?" But his pleading was no use. The cows were already turning into stars and rising to the heavens. The pharaoh and his queen decided that their baby boy should grow up far away from any danger, especially dogs, snakes, and crocodiles. His Majesty ordered workers to build a stone palace for him far away in the mountains. They sent the baby there to grow up, along with his nurse, surrounded by guards and every precaution for his safety. He did not even know what a dog was. Then one day, he found a way up onto the palace's roof from where he could view the world outside. A servant followed him to make sure that the prince did not fall from a great height. The prince looked out and saw a man walking up the road with a dog trotting alongside him. "What is that wondrous creature?" the prince asked.
"Your Highness, that is a greyhound,"
replied the servant. "Well, I must have one of those. Write to my father at once," said the prince. When the pharaoh received the message that his son wanted a dog, he became very distressed and pulled his hair in agony. "I see the hand of fate at work," he replied that under no circumstances was his son to have a dog. But the messages kept on arriving at the palace. "I must have a dog. It's the most beautiful animal I have ever seen. I can't be happy without one, father. What is the point of living if I can't be happy?" And in the end, the pharaoh gave in and brought a puppy for his stubborn child. The young prince was delighted with his greyhound puppy, and as they grew up together, it was clear that the prince was as devoted to the dog as the dog was to him. The years passed and the prince wondered why he could not take his dog for a walk outside. He persistently wrote to his father asking why he was a prisoner inside a palace. He said that life without freedom was not worth living. And finally, he told his father that if he could not walk out, he would have to jump off the roof and escape his fate that way. Finally, the pharaoh relented. He ordered the guards to set his son free. They gave him all sorts of weapons to protect himself, and the people gathered to wish him farewell and told him,
"May the gods bless you! Follow your heart's desire!"
The prince and his greyhound dog travelled through the country living off the game that they hunted. Then he left Egypt heading north through Syria, where he arrived at the city of Neharina. It was there that he discovered an interesting situation. The Duke of Neharina had only one child, a beautiful daughter. He was reluctant for her to marry, and he set up an impossible competition for her hand. He put her in a high tower and decreed that the first person to jump up to her window could marry her. Nobles from Syria and beyond tried all day and every day to leap up to her windowsill. None had succeeded. When the Egyptian and his greyhound arrived on the scene, they greeted him warmly and asked him who he was. The young man did not want to receive any special treatment, so he made up a story. He told them that he was the son of a chariot driver of the Egyptian army. He explained that when his mother had died, his father had taken a new wife, and when her children were born, she began to hate him and treat him unkindly. He had decided to take his dog and wander wherever fate led him. The nobles were sympathetic and took a shine to the boy. They called servants to wash his feet and anoint him with oil, and they fed his horses and his greyhound dog.
"What?"
exclaimed the Duke.
"I can't let my daughter marry such a lowlife. Isn't there a single nobleman in all of Syria who can jump up to the window of a high tower?" "Apparently not, sir." "Well, I won't allow it. Tell my daughter not to marry him."
When the girl heard her father's wishes, she said, "I love this man, and if I can't marry him, I shall never eat or drink again." The Duke was not pleased with this reply, and he sent soldiers to kill the Egyptian. Finally, the Duke relented and called the young couple to come to his palace. "I, sir, am the son of a chariot driver in the Egyptian army," replied the boy. "When my mother died, my father took a new wife. She was cruel to me, and that is why I have left my country and travelled all the way here." The Duke did not like this story, but he noticed that the boy had a noble look in his eye, and he saw how his daughter put her arms around him and was obviously in love. He agreed to their marriage and gave them plenty of cattle and servants, lots of rich and gorgeous things, and a fine house. You might have thought the couple would live happily ever after. One day, after they were married, the young man said to his bride, "This is my true story. I am a prince of Egypt. When I was born, the 7 cows of Hathor decreed my fate. I am to die by a snake, a dog, or a crocodile." "What?" exclaimed his new wife. "How can we allow this fate to destroy our happiness? You must take your sword and kill your dog immediately."
"You've got to be kidding,"
exclaimed the prince. She sat up. The moonlight was shining through the window, and she saw a snake slowly slithering across the floor. One day, when he was out hunting, his beloved greyhound looked at him and snarled, "I am your fate." The prince started to run, and the dog came after him. Although the prince could run faster than almost anyone, he was not as speedy as a greyhound. He knew his dog hated water, and so he ran into a lake. There lived an old crocodile in this lake, and when the prince ran into the water, the crocodile swished his great tail and swam towards him, saying,
"I am your fate."
When they arrived, he let the prince go and said,
"There is only one way in which you can escape your fate. If you help me defeat the evil spirit, I will let you go.
The prince heard this story and said,
And that is where the papyrus paper is torn off. Do you expect the crocodile ate the doomed prince? And what happened to the dog and the princess? Did they help the prince?
Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel to see the latest videos. Thank you.